The sun over the Arizona plains burned like a molten coin, hanging low and heavy as if it were reluctant to leave the sky. Evening dust drifted across the land in waves, stirred by the hooves of roaming mustangs far in the distance. The world felt as vast as an ocean, with only scattered ranches and lonely homesteads dotting the endless horizon. Out here, a man could vanish into the land and never be seen again. But for Jonah Hale, a quiet farmer with calloused hands and a slow, steady way of speaking, disappearing had never been a choice. It had simply been the life he lived. Jonah lived a mile outside a trading post called Red Bluff, a tiny settlement carved into Apache territory. For years he had kept to himself, tending to his small patch of land, planting corn and barley, raising a few stubborn goats, and avoiding trouble whenever he could. Folks in Red Bluff knew him as the shy farmer with a gentle nature, a man who never raised his voice and never caused a stir. But he carried a weight inside him that no one saw. His family was gone, taken by fever long before he found his way west. Silence and solitude had become the only companions he knew. He had grown used to it, until that night. It began with a tremor in the ground, a faint shake that rattled a few tools hanging on the wall of Jonah's barn. At first he thought it was the passing of heavy horses or an approaching storm. But then came the second tremor, stronger this time, enough to knock a wooden bucket from a shelf. Jonah stepped outside, brushing dust from his shirt, and looked toward the ridge beyond his field. That was when he saw them. 3 tall figures descended the ridge, silhouettes of immense size against the fiery sky. They moved with long, powerful strides, each step sending faint vibrations through the ground. As they approached, Jonah realized these were not ordinary travelers, nor soldiers, nor outlaws. These were Apache women, each towering nearly twice the height of an average man. They were legends whispered about in the tavern of Red Bluff, the giant women of the northern Apache clans, guardians of old lands, warriors of unmatched strength. Most folks believed they were only stories. Jonah had never believed in legends. Not until now. The tallest woman stepped forward, her long black hair tied with leather bands that swayed behind her like a river. Her shoulders were broad and strong, her arms marked with the symbols of her clan. Her eyes, dark as midnight, watched Jonah with a mixture of curiosity and caution. She stood so close that Jonah had to tilt his head back just to meet her gaze. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Only the wind across the field broke the silence, carrying the scent of sage and warm earth. Then the giant woman spoke, her voice deep and steady. "We come in peace, farmer." Jonah swallowed hard. "I mean no trouble. This land's quiet. I mostly keep to myself." The woman nodded once. "My name is Naya. These are my sisters, Talina and Suri. We seek shelter for the night. Our journey has been long, and the land is changing. We have been forced south by raids and by men with rifles who wish to take what is ours." Jonah looked at the 3 women. Their feet were dusty, their expressions tired but proud. Though they towered above him, there was no hostility in their eyes, only exhaustion, and something else he could not yet name. "You can stay," Jonah said softly. "I have a barn, a well, and a bit of food if you need it." Naya's stern expression softened for the briefest moment. "You are generous, shy farmer." Jonah blinked. How did she know he was shy? Maybe it showed more than he realized. The women followed him toward the barn, their enormous shadows stretching across Jonah's land like moving mountains. The barn was large enough to house them, though even then, the tallest had to lower her head to pass through the doorway. Jonah fetched water, bread, and dried meat, placing everything on a sturdy table. The women ate with quiet gratitude, though their large hands dwarfed the wooden cups and plates. When they finished, Naya stood and stepped outside. Jonah followed her. The sky had darkened into deep violet, stars pricking through like sparks from a celestial fire pit. Bonfires were lit across the plains in the distance, marking Apache camps scattered far beyond his land. Naya looked out across the fields, her hair catching the moonlight. For a long while she said nothing. Then she spoke in a low voice that carried a note of vulnerability Jonah had not expected. "No man has touched me in months." Jonah felt heat crawl up the back of his neck. He froze, unsure how to respond. He had never been bold enough with women, much less one who stood nearly twice his height and possessed more strength than any rancher he had ever known. But she was not speaking of desire alone. Her tone carried loneliness, the kind that stretched deeper than the empty plains around them. My people are scattered, she continued. The world changes quickly, and many have fled or fallen. We travel constantly. We cannot form families as we once did. I have lived in silence for far too long. Her eyes turned to Jonah, gentle yet piercing. You understand loneliness, do you not? Jonah's voice was barely audible. I do. Something in the way he said it made Naya step closer. Jonah felt her presence like a warm shadow enveloping him. Her size was intimidating, yes, but her expression held no threat. Only a quiet sincerity that made him feel seen in a way he had not felt in years. You have a kind heart, she said. A heart that feels deeply. My sisters sensed it the moment we approached. It is why you did not hide from us. Jonah let out a breath he did not realize he had been holding. I don't know if I'm brave. Just felt like you needed help. That is bravery, Naya replied. Bravery is not loud. It is not the way men in saloons boast. It is kindness when kindness is risky. Jonah looked at the earth between his boots. Many folks are afraid of your kind. They say you're dangerous. Naya's voice grew softer. We have defended our land from those who wish to take it. Those who came with guns see us as monsters. But we are not. We want peace more than anything. Jonah felt a swelling of emotion he could not entirely name. He looked up into her eyes again, the moon reflecting softly in them. He saw weariness, strength, a longing as deep as his own. Would you like to walk the field with me? Jonah asked quietly. Sometimes it helps to walk in silence. Naya smiled. It was small but warm. Yes, shy farmer. Lead the way. They walked the length of Jonah's land together. Her strides were long and slow, matching his smaller steps with an easy grace. The night air cooled around them, carrying the scent of crops and sagebrush. Coyotes yipped in the distance, and the sky seemed to glow with an impossible number of stars. Jonah felt oddly calm beside her, despite the awe her presence inspired. After a few minutes, Naya spoke again. You tend this land with care. You live simply. It's all I know, Jonah said. My family taught me the value of honest work. Even when life gets lonely, the land gives purpose, keeps me going. Naya looked around, as if taking in the full measure of his world. There is peace here. I can see why your heart is gentle. Jonah chuckled softly. I don't know about that. I've made mistakes like anyone. The giant woman stopped, placing one large hand over her chest. Jonah felt her warmth radiating even through the cool night air. When she spoke, her voice trembled slightly. The world has been unkind to me lately. My people rely on me, yet the burden grows heavier. I have spent months carrying it alone, and I have felt the absence of closeness, the absence of a comforting voice. No man has touched me in months because none have dared come close. I am feared, not understood. Jonah met her gaze. Maybe you just haven't found the right person to understand you. The words came out softer than he intended, but Naya's face softened again. She crouched slightly so that their eyes were level. Jonah felt suddenly small, fragile even, but in her presence, that fragility felt safe, protected. You speak with a gentle truth, Naya said. It has been so long since someone spoke to me without fear. Jonah felt an unexpected surge of courage. Maybe I'm just too simple to be afraid. Naya gave a low laugh, a sound like rolling thunder softened by distance. I do not think you are simple at all, Jonah Hale. He felt his heart beat faster at the sound of his name spoken by her. They stood there for a long moment, two lonely souls caught in a strange, quiet closeness. For Jonah, it was the first time in years he felt connection stirring inside him. For Naya, it was the first time in months she felt her heart open to someone beyond her people. When they returned to the barn, her sisters were asleep, their large forms resting peacefully among bales of hay. The night felt still. Jonah reached the doorway of his small cabin and hesitated. Naya stopped beside him. If you need anything, he said, voice unsteady. Water, more food. blankets, anything. Naya placed her hand gently on his shoulder. Her touch, though large, was surprisingly soft. Her warmth seeped through him, sending a shiver up his spine. You have already given more than enough, Jonah. You offered shelter without hesitation. You showed me kindness without fear. That is more valuable than gold. Jonah felt himself swallow again. You're welcome here anytime. All of you. Naya nodded. But instead of stepping back, she looked at him with a deeper meaning in her eyes. May I ask you something? Anything. Will you stay with me a moment longer? Just talk with me. The nights have grown cold, and it has been many moons since I have shared company with someone who listens. Jonah felt something soften inside him. Of course. They sat outside the cabin on a wooden bench Jonah had built himself. The wood creaked under Naya's weight, but it held. She drew her knees up slightly, folding herself as comfortably as she could beside him. Jonah felt the warmth of her presence wrap around him like a protective shield from the night chill. They spoke about small things at first. The land, the changing seasons, the stories their elders had told them as children. Jonah shared memories of his father's laugh, of his mother's cooking, of the silence that followed their absence. Naya spoke of training as a warrior, of learning to hunt, of the songs her grandmother sang during long winter nights. Their lives were wildly different, yet the core of their stories, loss, endurance, and quiet hope, felt the same. As the hours passed, their conversation grew deeper. Jonah asked about her travels. Naya told him about the dangers her people faced from soldiers, outlaws, and the shifting borders of settlements. Jonah listened carefully, his heart heavy with empathy. You deserve peace, he said softly. Naya looked down at him. So do you. Wind rustled through the crops, brushing against their legs. The night grew cooler, and Jonah shivered slightly. Naya noticed and shifted closer. Her warmth enveloped him, a comforting heat like sitting beside a fire. Jonah, she said quietly, I do not know what tomorrow brings. My people may travel far again. But tonight, in this moment, I am grateful. You reminded me that the world still holds kindness. Jonah looked up at her, his voice trembling faintly. And you reminded me that I'm not as alone as I thought. Her eyes softened. Then let neither of us be alone tonight. Jonah's breath caught. He was not sure if she meant companionship, conversation, or the simple comfort of sitting together beneath the stars. But whatever she meant, he welcomed it. He nodded, and she lowered herself until her shoulder brushed gently against his. They sat like that, two figures, one small, one giant, bound by an unexpected thread of connection woven from shared loneliness. Hours later, dawn approached. The sky shifted from black to deep blue, then to pale gold. Naya stood slowly, stretching her towering form. My sisters and I will travel again soon, she said. But I will remember you, shy farmer. Will you come back? Jonah asked. Naya paused, then smiled. A rare, radiant smile that warmed Jonah's chest. If the land allows it, yes. I will return. She leaned down, cupping his cheek with her warm hand. It was a gentle touch, filled with sincerity. No man has touched me in months, she whispered. But tonight, I felt a closeness I thought I had lost forever. Thank you, Jonah Hale. Jonah's heart pounded. He placed his hand on hers, small compared to her own but steady. You're welcome, and you don't have to stay lonely. Not while I'm here. Naya's gaze held his for one last, lingering moment. Then she turned and walked toward the barn, her sisters rising to join her. As they began their march north, Jonah watched them until they disappeared over the ridge. But he knew this was not the end. Some bonds, once formed, echo across great distances. And he felt certain that somewhere on the horizon, Naya felt the same.